This idea for this impromptu panel was what we were just talking about one, the fans thinking they owe them something.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
oh my God.
Why does any fan ever think that this person they once watched owes them favors?
Right. There's a difference between being polite enough to stop and say hi and be cool and just wait, and saying you have to do this or you have to do that. Like, I get it. You know, if you were out somewhere, first of all, usually if they're busy, you try not to. But if you're nearby really quickly, be cool and at least say hi.
Well, I mean, I think that a celebrity owes his or her fans as a whole fan base a little bit, because all those zillions of people who watch Power Rangers,
sure, they are made
but no one fan actually did any more than anybody else.
Right. There should be a line. Like, you shouldn't expect him to make a shirt. He does not have to. He doesn't have to make every design just because he doesn't.
Right. I mean, it's not even that. It's that they expect personal favors,
right,
and expect them to go ridiculously out of their way just for that one individual.
Because how they think is that, okay, I watched you on TV, I supported you, I want something back.
Yeah, I made you who you are.
I made you famous, I want something back. Right? No, you still gotta support me.
I guess it's because you didn't sit in a room with those 10 million other people and watch the show all at the same time, so there's sort of a disconnect, and you don't think about the fact that it wasn't just you watching the TV show.
Right. As the fact of the matter is, he does do a lot for his fans in general. But the problem is, if it's not you particularly getting something you want and you don't have that mindset, it's never going to be enough, regardless of the fact of how he behaves, what he does for us, what he offers on his page all the time, that he interacts as much as possible, that he has these boot camps, opens up to us for an expert training that is beyond compare. Philosophies, time with him, experience of another state or some people different location, traveling, meeting new people. And the fact of the matter is that, hey, dude, this guy's also a family man. He has 5 martial arts schools. He goes to conventions. He does filming when he can. And eventually he wants to get back into fighting, but he'll have to dedicate, I think he said, 6 to 8 weeks of uninterrupted time. So yes, he may not be doing it Mighty Morphin and have Parish to work, but he's a busy man. So he's giving a lot to us as it is. Be happy with that and give something back.
Just be able to take out a few seconds with him. You can see his face instead of his feet.
At what point did it switch from, if we want something from him,
I'm just happy.
When did it change from we want to see him on TV to we want him to make our t-shirt into his logo for his school or something like that? Because, I mean, maybe it's when we become adults and become old and grizzly and bitter or something, but it's like, it used to be good enough just to see that person on TV in our favorite TV show.
Yeah.
I guess maybe we just now don't think of them, some people think of them as that character still, but to think of them as a person in our world now, and so we want to have them doing all those wonderful, nice things and get it on TV or something.
Yeah, it's like I made you who you are. If you didn't have me, you wouldn't have me.
Exactly.
No, you don't owe him what he got where he did because of his ability in martial arts. And yes, he says he's not the best actor in the world, but he's got enough for the part he did. We love him as that character.
Yeah, we all love him.
And yes, the fans are important, but there is a line where, because he does not owe you, in such detailed fashion everything that you want, he gives enough. So.
Actually, Jason gives more than enough. I mean,
man. Not speaking personally on him, but it's sort of on where is the line for an actor between fan appreciation and fan rejection? Right. You had mentioned Amy and how she completely ignored the fans for the last 15 years.
Right.
Where's the line? Like, you say they do owe at least some appreciation to their fans, but they owe some appreciation to their fans, but not to the point that it's where they're expecting ridiculous personal favors.
Right.
Yeah, I think,
where is that line?
It's almost like, it's funny, it's almost like Jason and Amy are like opposite ends of the spectrum. It's like she's an example of how you just totally ignore the fans, and he's an example of how you go way above and beyond what you need to do. And the line that I think I would almost look at it as, going to cons, you go to a con and you do a panel for, a packed house of people. That's really giving that to your fans. Doing, meet and greet VIP meals or something, you go dress up in your own costume for like 6 hours. That stuff, that's above and beyond. There's, and if something, you should not ever expect somebody to do that, because that's them saying, I appreciate my fans. I'm also going to do something for them, even if you are charging money for it. But it's still, it's a hassle.
You know what it might also be? is that people don't see that perspective. Someone needs to put that in front of them and say, look, they don't even have to necessarily name names, because Jason and Johnny, I know probably a few other people try not to throw names out, but depending like if they're really going to say something. But in general, there are actors and actresses who he has said who don't want anything to do with fans. Then there are ones who will do what they can, they'll do the cons and the panels, sometimes meet and greet, sign autographs, and then there are ones who do like Jason and who go above and beyond that really because he wants it, not just for his name, and opens up himself for us. And if you look at that comparison, see, he's already doing above and beyond, so why are you trying to push for even more? That's where you need to sometimes help people to see the line. Okay, he could be like this or he could be like that. When this isn't the middle line, there's something wrong with, but he's already going above and beyond. You need to see that.
Exactly.
Do you think somebody who treats something as, and there's a very big difference between someone who does a role that has a very tight core of fan base and it's the life of it, like Power Rangers, and somebody who's maybe like a major screen actor.
Right.
So maybe those guys, is it considered disrespectful for someone, to the fans, for someone to treat that role as a job and just leave it and not expect to have any interaction with the fans? Is it disrespectful to the fans? Whereas, let's say, a screen actor can do that and it's not really considered disrespectful.
Even then, actually, a lot of times it is. Like, for example, my brother, in general, he tries not to get things out of people. He's a wounded warrior from the United States Army. He's a veteran. Like, okay, cool. He's had actors and people who go up to him, take their time, and yeah, he's always cool. If they think it's great if they can spend any time with him. But these people, if he just goes to say, hi, how are you? I appreciate what you do, and that's it. People who don't want anything to do with him at all. I was like, listen, I get it, yeah, you're big, but I'm just trying to be nice and not interrupt. So it doesn't really matter how big you are, how many movies you do. Yeah, there's got to be a line of time-wise, but at least just take the time to appreciate someone. Say, hey, you know what? Yes, I got here on talent and ability to do stuff, but I also appreciate that, hey, you're going out to see my movies and you support me. That's always nice. Because you know what? One day you cannot have any supporters at all, not just for movies, but in life. How would it be if you didn't have anyone? So appreciate at least who you do have and make sure you take the time to say thank you, regardless if you're a big-time actor or a small screen one. Everybody has a life. Everybody has certain limits that maybe they are not as comfortable being around people. There's nothing wrong with that, but at least you should take the time to be respectful and appreciative. Say, hey, here and once in a while, what's going on? At least do that.
So, I don't want to pick on Amy here, but we've been kind of using her as an example. So is it disrespectful to ignore the fans? Not really be malicious to them, because I don't feel she's at it at all.
No.
It's just, is it considered disrespectful in something that has such a heavy fan base, a need for the fan base, to ignore them?
I think it depends, like you said, on how. Right. I think it depends on the person, though, what they're going for. Like, there's people who will maliciously, like you said, who will be disrespectful. Yeah. But there are some, like I know he said in her case, maybe she's had some bad. I know Jason has had some creepy experiences, and also he's a little stronger. Like, he's a martial artist, he can take care of himself. She may have had some pretty creepy experiences where, you know what, she's met some intense Power Ranger fans and intense fans in general, where she's just like.
Well, yeah, and she was one of the female leads, and I know. You get a different mindset of the fan base, and there's a lot of creepy guys than there is as many.
Right, and it's unfortunate.
As many creepy women.
Right, that's true, and it's unfortunate because not everyone is like that. So, I think I give her definitely a respect that understandable. So maybe if she felt like I like Tony's suggestion, maybe either hire a fan or someone who you feel comfortable to be around. You go out with Jason or someone so that and make it in like, okay, it's only going to be a 10-15 minute thing. It's just a quick panel, something like that. Here's questions you're not allowed to ask. So you learn to find your comfort zone, and it helps when you have someone. But I understand, okay, she has the bad experience, she has the anxiety about it. Cool, if she can get over that with someone, yeah, that's great. But if someone was, say, intentionally going, I hate this show, I hated them, okay, you don't have to like the show, but at least appreciate, be nice to say, it wasn't my favorite thing in the world to do, but thank you for supporting me. But if you're intentionally ignoring them and bad-mouthing people, okay,
so
chill
just,
with that.
So unintentional ignorance really wouldn't be considered disrespectful, but, how would we know that unless we've heard anything?
True.
Well,
like in this case, we've heard it.
Well, like Jason was saying, I think, I can't remember if it was Friday or Saturday, he was saying that for a long time, Steve Cardenas was like, because some people, because he was a martial artist who became an actor, not the other way around. And so, at that point, it's an interesting.
So are you going to come in here and eat when you're in your room?
It's an interesting sort of way to be looking at it, where you're not coming in as an actor and you have to learn a new set of skills.
Right.
For this role, you are a martial artist, which is, I mean, it's like what he was showing us. There's Hollywood martial arts where you take these hits a certain way, or there's how it actually happens.
Yeah.
So it's like having to,
So was Jason, though. He had done a few things. Like one thing as a kid, but he was a martial artist. Like they said, he used to come in, he hit hardcore, he knocked everyone out.
He would
It's
hit
also
the stunt
depends on
guys
your
and be like,
mindset.
And so, I mean, that's kind of, but I can see, like, with the thing with Amy Jo, I was in the No Pink Spandex interview. I think she specifically said that there was sort of like a creepy fan. And I know,
from jail.
I know I'm a fan of Joss Whedon shows, and there's an actress from one of his shows that she has not done a convention in the last, like, 5 or 6 years because she had a stalker at one of the conventions that, like, tracked her down at her house, and she said, I'm done.
Yeah.
And so she will not do them anymore.
Mom, I'll have to call you back unless this is
Right, and that's true. And those kind of experiences can definitely set someone off. That's why I was saying before, like it helps if you can think, it feels bad because that I'm sure that you've met fans that are a little cooler, but when you have an experience like that, it kind of takes the forefront. So just trying to remember, there are fans who are cool. Hire, maybe like Tony said, hire someone to be with you.
That's what I was gonna say. Is it still disrespectful? Well, it's not really. I wouldn't say disrespectful, but to let one fan ruin it for all the rest, is that something that the actors need to accept themselves?
Think about it this way, though. If you have 10,000 fans, let's just say, and 9,999 of them are awesome, and they shake your hand, and they give you money for an autograph, and they tell you how much you influenced, their childhood, and then you have that one fan who comes in and is a creeper and tracks you down and shows up at your house and like follows your kids. That one person can do, because
they can do a lot of damage. But is it fair to let them if you were the actor?
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, actually, the gotta solve this right now is that the fans that dislike the actors because they don't actually come out and shake your hand and say hi or like do the small talk meet and greets kind of thing. I'm thinking, put yourself in their shoes. Put difficulty. They have their lives. They have their roles in life. Like Jason, he does karate. Like he does the karate academy. He does stuff with his family and stuff. He goes to conventions. He goes He does films.
He does a lot.
He does a lot of stuff. But it takes time for us, but then like me. Sometimes I think of myself, like I pretend like I'm an actor sometimes.
Right.
But then I actually think, dude, actors have a lot of pressure. I mean, okay. When you're out and you see them, they get an opening of a film or something like that. You're like, oh my god, I see him. But you're like, oh my god, you get so much money. Like people think they get a lot of money. But if you really think about it, if you were an actor, you would say there's like two doors. The actor opens one door. You get the fame and fortune. You get the fame. You get the money. You get the fancy car. You get the house, all that shit. But when you open the other door to the best about it, you see stuff behind making the film. It's difficult because you gotta get this right. You gotta make sure you follow the director's orders. You gotta make sure everybody's telling you, make sure it's right.
There's a lot of pressure, Joe. There's a lot of negative
pressure on both ends, on fame and behind the scenes of the film.
A movie is not just the finished product that you see at the end. There were countless hours that they had to put into that.
Yeah, and in regards to your question about is it fair to everyone else, it doesn't seem like, well, it's one person, it's not the rest of us. But think of it as, if it would, first of all, they need to be, the number one priority should be concerned about their own safety and that of their family, especially if this happened, Jason, number one, well, back off, that's my family here. It may not seem fair to everyone else, but you know what, it doesn't matter. When you have one person who's obsessed and goes beyond, safety is number one. So it'd be cool if, let's say, they could still do stuff, maybe it would be a lot more security, a lot less things they could do, but I couldn't fault anyone if they said, I need to step back and be out of public life because safety is number one priority. It doesn't mean that they're being disrespectful to anyone. They can still appreciate their fans. They don't stop appreciating the people who support them, but I wouldn't expect them, I wouldn't be upset if they said, I'm just not going to do cons, stuff like that, and let people people follow me around to stalk me. It can happen enough on its own, someone coming out. I don't want to be out there as much. That's fine, that's cool with me. I don't think there's anything wrong with it because they're not trying to be disrespectful to else. They're thinking of priority and besides
the safety
of
family.
themselves, safety of family.
Oh, yeah.
Even if, I'm sure Jason would say the same thing. There's also like, I'm a big fan of like any type of band. I love the band Skillet. And they were talking about recently why they had an increase in security. And John Cooper, he's a big guy too. He's like, listen, you know, people have crossed the line. My wife, she's in the band too. They're excellent. She's a tiny woman. She's like, my wife has almost gotten trampled. He goes, someone kissed me on the mouth after praying for me, and my wife was right there, like attacked me. And he's got children who travel with him sometimes too. So they had to add security, and people got upset with them for that. He's like, you know what, guys? And he said them straight out, this is my family. There are lines you shouldn't cross with me or with them, but it's happening. So now for their and my own safety and protection, I need to get these bodyguards, these people in place. I don't care, because that's number one important as a thing. And I have to agree with that. You know, if there are people who cannot, you know, not cross that line, you never know where they're going to be, so you can't assume, oh, well, like I said, that's just one person out of 10,000. That one person could be in that sea of 10,000. You don't know where they are, where they're going to come from, so you've got to be...
Yeah, I mean, if you could go, oh, well, there's a 9,999, and there's the one, I'll just stay away from them, but you don't know. I mean, you have to... And really, I mean, when you think of it, it's sort of the scenario where a lot of people have trouble not making everything about themselves. Mm-hmm. And so you have these fans, and they're not thinking about that actor and his or her family,
right,
and them. They're thinking about them and that actor, and they don't care about all of this other stuff. And they don't think, you know, if someone says, you know, well, I've got more security now, they don't think, man, I can't believe that guy's, I'm not going to be able to get there and shake his hand because he's got security now.
Right.
It's not about you getting up there and shaking his hand. It's about keeping himself or their family safe. It's not about, you know, being a jerk to everybody that's, you know, the 9,999 because they don't like them. It's because there was that one person, and they will take precautions and shoot. A person would be stupid to not do that, really. I mean, it's just because they're a celebrity, so it's on a larger scale. They can afford to have, you know, pay a bodyguard, whereas we would just have to be careful.
Exactly.
You know, it's not like they're doing anything differently than we would.
Yeah, and I agree that completely. And again, it all goes back to, you know, there are people who are intentionally, you know, rude to their fans or don't want anything to do with them because they don't care enough. And they'll say it. Like, I forgot who it was a few years ago. Maybe you guys help me out. There was a celebrity who literally said they did not care about their fans. They didn't like them. They could care less about them. Like, okay, that's crossing a line. Yeah, we know you don't owe us anything and you have talent, but you do need fans to support you and get you where you are. They don't have to go and see your movies. They can just
if we don't like you, we're not going to buy your stuff.
Yeah, so don't be rude. You don't have to. We don't expect you to spend all the time. If you're not comfortable, you don't feel like doing that, cool. But don't be rude and completely disrespect the people who are trying to support you and think what you do is pretty cool. Because then all of a sudden it doesn't matter how cool you were before. Now you're not.
Well, like this. First of all, we're actually waiting for Jason, aren't we? But then, like I said, he's a busy guy, and there's family issues too. Family and business are separate.
Yeah.
And he has to focus.
The family has to come before anything else.
Yes, and we understand that.
Okay,
I mean, it's completely understandable.
Okay.
Sure, we not get every little cool thing we wanted to do, but the guy still went above and beyond for us.
Because also, I haven't actually got my picture with him at all too. So you're not the only one. So I'm feel by the same way as you. But he is a busy guy, and if he has time for us, he'll put time. If he doesn't, that's fine.
I mean, the man invited us into his home, and that's phenomenal among actors. Because who wants their fans to know where they live?
Yeah.
First of which, he's actually my first actor that I've ever seen in my entire life.
Really?
But actually, Bam Margera from People of Bam.
Okay.
His crew and him actually went to San Antonio on my boat.
Okay.
I'm like, wow. So he wasn't my first.
All right, I'm thinking switch topics a little bit here.
Yeah, sure.
I think we've kind of beat that horse pretty dead.
Pretty dead. That was like both
We win.
Okay, so Jason has kind of been one of the most prolific of the Power Rangers ever.
Absolutely.
Kind of shifting into there, and I think a lot of that has to do with his respect to the fan, which makes him so well loved among them.
Right.
But also, he's played more roles than any other Rangers too. How come he's outlasted so many of them?
You mean like roles outside of?
Well, I mean, not
Power
roles. I
Rangers?
mean, in the Power Ranger, he's played 5 different Power Rangers. He always played the same character, Tom.
5 different colors.
Yeah.
Why has he had such more lasting power? Like, he was gone for what, a decade almost?
Yeah.
And then he comes back, which is in a niche market like that is unheard of.
Absolutely.
Well, why does he have the lasting power, and maybe some of the others
Yeah, there's only like
Haven't.
if you look, there's only, and you guys know I love Johnny as well. So if you know, he's behind Jason, right behind him in the number of episodes that he's filmed and come back with. And I think it's also the way they are, because obviously it was huge at that time. Again, interactions, because Amy was huge, but you know she stepped back for family and comfort level, and then doing her own big films. It's the way they were, like the characters, like they're very charismatic. Of course, they go out and beyond. I like to say I do believe they do have talent. They learn, they grow from it. They're likable. They're fun. People especially loved Tommy Oliver because he was Kim's love interest. He was the knight in shining armor for a lot of girls.
I think
he was an excellent martial artist, and you could tell that.
He's an expressive martial artist, which made the action way more intense.
So it was like he was saying, he was like nobody else key-eyed in the episodes. There was just
absolutely. He had the kata movies, so you knew he was teaching the kids as well. He was out there. He was the face of Mighty Morphin. And they brought him back to it because kids didn't want to eat, because it's like they could relate to him. He was the big brother. He was the guy who
everybody can look up to.
Yeah, he was on the outside. Then he was on the team. Then he stepped up as a leader. And it's like someone you could rely on, who was going to be there, a steady ranger who can lead and be an example, who can come from somewhere else and just be that everything that everybody wants him to be in everything.
Well, and if you watch I'm watching the series, and it's like if you pay attention to his character, from the moment he is introduced, it comes across as this dashing, charming guy. He goes evil for a little bit, which is sort of fun for, I guess you would say, like the boy fans, because everybody likes him.
I don't think it's even for the boy fans. I think the entire storyline of how he's introduced is why we love him so much.
Oh, yeah.
From the very beginning. How many of us have said of all of his roles, and the shortest was the Green Ranger, is our favorite?
Yeah, well,
because we talked about.
I mean, it's always green and white. I mean, it's like those two. But the thing is, when his character is introduced, it's like he is constantly trying to do things for people. He's like, Kimberly's, she had like her plants were instead of her plant club or something. So he was going to do that, and then there was something, her flow got destroyed. It's like he was going to put that together. It was like I mean, I know that, to be fair, I know that it was largely because in Zeo Ranger, the Green Ranger was never there, and so they had to figure out some clever way to get him out.
Right.
But they chose to make him always have to leave because he was such a nice guy, and he was always going and doing things for other people.
Right.
And I mean, that means that the kids like him because, let's be fair, the shield, that's just cool.
Yes.
And he's got the shield, he's got a cooler costume. He goes back and forth between good and evil, which is really cool.
Yeah, I think the struggle with darkness
And the
is
parents
really...
like him because
Oh my God.
It struck as this has some depth as opposed
reality
to
as well.
We were watching an entire couple of a season at least before he gets introduced, and it gets formulaic.
Yeah.
It gets like we expect exactly what's going to happen, and then we throw this guy in here, and this guy's evil. He starts out completely different than all the rest, and he struggles with the darkness that maybe all of us have a little bit of a struggle. So it's kind of an inspiring story. Like, yeah, there's good people in the world, but not all of them have always been good. Some of the people struggled with
ever going to be
it.
completely perfect. There's always, even like a few seasons down, they had when he had that clone that was made that would last a few episodes. They got sent back in time, and he had to fight himself. And even in Dino Thunder, where they were talking about when Trent came on and he was evil, and he talked about the struggle and how people believing in him, because we're always going to have that. The fact is that he never gave up. He would confront that and keep going. And you see his evil self. The clone became good eventually because he kept believing enough in himself and who his clone was to realize this is who you really are, that no matter what you feel, what you were made to be, you can overcome that. Plus, he was just always like the way when he smiles and he presents himself and he interacts with people, he just makes you feel at ease and comfortable and friendly.
I think
you understand and can relate to him really well.
The darkness made him a little more relatable to normal humans, whereas the rest of them were like, okay, they're the good guys, and here's the bad guys. Here's the white hats and the black hats,
Well,
and he was like, he's a little bit more like you because he's complex.
Yeah,
he has a contradiction.
He's a human. And it's also because
it's green. Actually,
he is a
green, white, red, black.
He's a growth story. Because if somebody is always good or somebody is always bad, but the fact that he started bad, not only became good, but eventually moved into the leadership position within them. It's like everybody wants that. Everybody wants to, especially the people who are sort of, I don't know.
And I know a lot of us, when we first saw White Light, really, we were expecting it, but when we saw that helmet, when we saw that come down, we were like, everything is now right with the world.
Word.
And then come down. And then
But I mean,
we would,
continue what you're
watch
saying. I
it.
got you.
No, I mean, that was
commercial. Like, oh my God,
that was-
commercial.
It was just that it was, you know, I mean, there were lots of, downtrodden is a bad word to use because it's, you know, just been used too much. But, you know, these people who, you know, who don't like themselves maybe, who realize that they are not what they should be or what they could be, and then you see this character who started off not being what he could have been or should have been, overcoming that, triumphing over top of it, and then becoming something better than average. And everybody wants to believe that they can do that.
Yeah.
And so it's like, here's this guy who's relatable, and everybody can sort of see. I think it's easy to see a little bit of yourself in that character, and then to see him triumph so much that it's a victory story for people
I
watching
mean,
it.
when I
Like, I can
first
do it.
saw it, I mean, I had a little bit of an emotionally distressing childhood, right? No friends, the whole nine, like that. And I see somebody who comes in and struggles with this good. I saw more of the bad of humanity, more of the selfishness and greed of it as a child than most kids. And most kids have this innocence where they like to believe all people are good.
Right.
Well, I had a struggle with believing that all people were good. And this was at least a little bit of an inspiration to prove that it's always going to be a struggle for everyone, but you want to believe in the basic goodness in people. You want to believe that at their core, they are good. And that if you just believe in something, you can eventually do that good. You can do right by the world.
Yeah.
No matter how many bad things you've done in your past, you're eventually going to try to break through and do what's right.
It's never too late.
And yeah, as long as you realize that, and it's amazing to see because, like, you know, when they first destroy the Sword of Darkness and they invite him to join the team, and he says, they say you're one of us. He's like, but after everything I've done to you, like, he realizes, you know, even though yes, he was under Rita's spell and he felt bad, but he felt bad. He didn't fight in and all the things how he almost destroyed them. He's like, you know, there is no hope for me. And he could have just refused them in general, even with all the reassurance, but a part of him said, you know what, I'm being offered a chance. I've always had this chance. Let me take it now. And no matter what the rest of my life holds, just not give up, keep going. Whatever I have to face, what I have to fight, I'm going to fight the fight to the end. And every time he had to confront himself, he always had a choice to make. Some people, you know, don't choose that. So it's nice that you see, you know, it's not just TV. It's kind of like, again, like everyone said, it's relating to real life. Like, we all have those moments that, you know what, maybe I don't always make the right choice, but I can make that choice right now. Every moment is a new chance to make the choice. No matter what I've done in the past, there's always going to be an open door. I can step up and take it and just keep working one day, one step at a time. I'm not alone. I've got friends, I've got family, you know, and you just keep going.
I mean, the initial storyline about how he was taken over and was mind controlled by Rita is initially a two-dimensional story.
Right.
And it could very easily have been written off like that. Okay, he's good now. He was under the bad guy's control, but everything he did was not his fault. Could have very easily been seen that way, and the story was written that way.
Right.
But for some reason, and I think the way Jason portrayed the role, you always got this feeling that he always felt like he kind of had to prove himself, that he had to struggle with the fact that he started out evil, even though it wasn't his fault.
Right.
You still somehow picked up this idea that he struggled with that darkness, that she maybe didn't necessarily turn him bad, but brought out what he already was. So you felt the guilt,
Right,
kind of.
which is accurate.
You felt what he was trying to prove himself as good.
Well, I mean, strictly from a writing perspective, you know, with him coming in and basically being an overnight success, I mean, everybody's favorite character, you sort of, you want that character, I mean, it's conflict resolution. You want the character that everybody likes to be the one that has the conflict.
Right.
But then when that happens, and because it was a kid's show, you know, there was never a time when he was just going to be totally wiped out and not come back from it, like some horror film, you know. Because it was a character that was popular, so he was given a lot of the problems, and he always overcame them. And even some of the problems were even, you know, there's an episode where, for whatever reason, like just from the one episode, he develops this problem where he can't remember anything. He was leaving stuff in his locker, he forgets his homework at home, and it was like, I mean, first off, this came out of nowhere, but at the same time, we all have problems with forgetting things. It's not like that's some, you know, oh no, monsters are taking over. It's,
Right.
I can't remember things.
It made him a
I'm
more
having
three-dimensional
trouble.
character, not just good guy, bad
He
guy.
wasn't perfect.
It made him even more relatable because of that. And I think that's why people still like him, is because, and that's why he's outlasted us. I mean, I don't know if it's, I mean, I would even almost say that it's largely due to the writing. As much as
Well, I mean, on the core level, a lot of the writing is two-dimensional, but I think there's something to be said about his ad-libbing and his charisma.
Yeah, and
It's body language.
I think that they
pulls
gave a lot
more
of the three-dimensional stuff to him, partially because he was so popular, but also partially because they saw that he could handle it. You know, I mean, not to knock any of the actors or anything, but in the early days of Power Rangers, they didn't know what they were doing. you know, the acting is like...
Yeah, their main skills were the martial arts, and secondary was the acting.
Exactly.
Right.
So when there was somebody who
And even
came in,
there was a lot of martial arts
they could
there.
figure out how to do that acting aspect. They said, okay, we can give this guy...
In 9 minutes, I need to cut us off. But,
I was actually going to talk about the Dino, how when I went back to Dino Thunder, a lot of it was actually talking about how he brought in his previous experiences as a ranger, and then he actually brought it to the Dino Thunder, like how Connor, Ethan, and Kira, they were all going to go after Shrimp because he was eating. But the thing was, is that, you know,
and he brought it in and said, "Look, I understand where this guy's been."
I was.
And it wasn't just that; it's his return. They didn't just bring him back as he's disappeared, he's been off the roll. Okay, here he is again. They brought him back as he's gone to college, he's had a life, he's done these things. They made it seem like he was a real person, like he's done things since then. He hasn't just not existed and then suddenly existed again.
I don't like it.
He's still a character.
Idea.
Yeah.
I wanted to move
Exactly.
on.
And even then, like you could tell that he's still, like he said when he said about training, he goes, I remember what it's like. So even though he didn't, it's not that he had a guilt that held him down, that was the character that he always was pointing and condemning himself, but that he understood and could relate, yeah, I still feel bad.
He had a redemption story.
Yeah, and because it's friends, you never want to hurt them no matter what the circumstances, so you remember that, and that motivates him to always fight and move on and move forward. And you can see that even through Zio, in terms of Zio was the King for a Day episodes where he was brainwashed, and you see him fighting with himself, I can't remember, and he's struggling so hard.
That classic episode in Dino Thunder where he literally fights himself.
Yes.
He
I've seen
fights
pictures
all of
from
his
that. I
past
can't wait to
demons.
see that
Oh my god,
Yeah,
I love
so
that
good.
episode. I can watch it
Yeah.
always and
Absolutely.
over and over. I will not get tired of that episode.
Anyone else notice how they didn't stick the Turbo Ranger in that one?
I know.
No.
And they were saying that it's because that he passed the cars on to TJ, so they don't really consider it quite so much as his. I'm like, it was still his, I don't care. He would make it great.
Because actually, what I actually heard from YouTube interviews that he said that Jason, Catherine, Johnny, and Nakia, they were all going to leave after Zio, but Saban actually wanted to push them and stay in Turbo for one last push. But then, in the mix of that, they can pass the torch. They decided, okay, this is the end of it. You guys are gonna leave. We're gonna be new cast members.
Well,
That's what happened.
what happened was Jason explained this to us last time.
What?
We were at his house and he said, listen, I wanted to leave the show. I was done, I wanted to move on. I went into Saban's office and I told him that I was going to go. He said, if you leave, we're firing everyone. He's like, fine, that's what's going to have to happen. Because they were trying to manipulate him to stay on the show. So because Jason said he was going, they fired everyone.
Do you think are the other actors mad at him?
No, they told
They stood behind him?
Yeah, from what I understand, they did.
Was one of them Johnny?
Johnny said, yes, Johnny was
Yeah,
there.
was one of them, okay.
It was Jason, Johnny, Nakia, Catherine, and Blake. Blake they kept on obviously at the end, but the other ones they wanted. Yes, they did want to move on eventually because of that, and because Jason had a lot of power. But he also had a lot of draw. He wanted to go. They said no. He said that's why he had no problem flipping TJ the coin because he was ready to move on. But they were trying to manipulate him to say, well, if you go, we're gonna fire everyone. So it's gonna be your fault. But nobody likes being manipulated. You think that please everyone. So as far as like they're all cool, they hang out at panels, and they know. But I'm like, seriously, trying to, wow. But
it seems a little underhanded for a series. You have a fan favorite, and it's the fans that are the only reason that this series exists and is still so popular. Both the Japanese and the American fans.
right.
They will, and it was like they were even saying.
Like
Some
that
interview or
two-part
something where they were saying that at the very beginning of the series they were like, look guys, we're not going to last very long, we're just going to do the best we can on this and just go have fun with it. And then all of a sudden it took off and they were like, oh, crap, we got to figure this out. And
Now we have to legitimize a lot of the things that we threw together at the last minute.
And so I mean it's but still to do something like that where you sort of take, you're manipulating what you know to be true. Yes, he's the best character, but does that mean that he has to be there? No, that just means you have to come up with something better. And to say, well, we're going to do everything we can to force you to stay, it's just being lazy.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of stuff. Like he could tell you some of the stuff that has gone on behind the scenes and how they used to be treated, and even still today, people hear you. Like when they were doing casting for this upcoming season, they were saying how people were relating stories how the original actors they wanted walked because what they were offered, their pay is so minimal and does not include housing, cost of living expenses.
Oh man.
and they pretty much like the contract is designed that they're kind of like a slave. So people who actually have agents and lawyers advise them, don't sign walk as much as you want to do this. And a lot of times that's why sometimes people will say, oh, it's a horrible cast. They're usually not always the first pick, but it's whoever is desperate to do it and get any type of job and will live off of nothing.
I mean, is that why you think a lot of these actors haven't been seen in very many other roles beyond Power Rangers?
Some of them, I do believe that was probably the case. Some of them is also they retire afterwards, and maybe it's also their bad experience with them. Like some people, I think, could have carried on afterwards. I don't think they necessarily wanted to, or maybe just because also they did Power Rangers. And people will tell you, even Amy Jones, even now she has flash shows, it was hard to get looked beyond the Power Rangers.
So they're being typecast.
Yes.
I mean, what else
So
can
it's a
you
mix of
possibly do
things.
that will be as big as Mighty Morphin Power Rangers?
Well, I mean,
Right.
what else can you possibly do where people won't look at you and say, I want to see you morph into a Power Ranger?
Right. Unfortunately, Amy. I mean,
Can
she
we
has
take
been
her
similar.
seriously in a dramatic role
Yeah.
when all we're seeing is the Pink
Ranger.
Ranger?
It's like I want to see Flashpoint because when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, it's the Pink Ranger." But then it was like you stop and think about it, you're like, "This show is nothing at all like Power
Right.
Rangers." I wonder what this would be
Well,
like.
in a sense, she is a different character, but she's not because it's also technically, if you think about it, a superhero role. You know, it's darker, yes, it's more adult drama, but
it's
so I guess
more
that may be
realistic.
why they were willing to give her a shot. Like, well, superhero-esque, maybe we can pull it off. And she was in something else before Flashpoint for a little bit that was something similar. Yeah, but
We're about reaching my time limit here.
okay.
Before we go, I'm just going to throw out a couple of ideas here, and then we'll end with a little, which we should have done first, but a little introduction of who we are. And
I like this.
maybe a message to whoever might listen to this. But let me just say, I think this was probably a really good idea. I think in future boot camps, maybe whether or not I'm here, probably would be cool, especially if we can get Jason involved in it.
Yeah.
Of having a panel discussion as a closing. It would be a great thing to draw more people into the boot camps and
Right.
other things. But we can continue these also online if we wanted
Yeah,
to.
just like Skype.
We could do some Skypes with some of the other people in the past camps, some of the people here who aren't here. It's definitely an idea I think Jason would probably like.
Yeah. Yeah, if he has the time, he knows how to use Skype because he does the
And I mean, and it could be done completely online too, and it would have less of the background noise of sitting in a hotel lobby.
Yeah, so someone walks by and goes,
And I actually learned somewhere.
I mean, and it discusses it, and with Jason here too, we can get the facts as opposed to conjecture on certain things.
Right.
Like two arguments, and then Jason will be the
And Jason will be, no, this is the way it really
Which
was.
is why I knew about the thing with the tournament because he literally told us that at his house last time. Here's what happened.
And I mean, we can go with lots more topics,
beautiful idea.
things like that.
You are a genius.
And he'll give you a lot of also very good business perspective from other movie deals he's worked on. And we learned something very interesting about someone that he's kind of close with. But they had interesting because the guy actually sued him at one point. And then it was a very
If we can do this Skype, we could possibly bring in more than just Jason.
It's true.
Oh, right.
But I mean, okay, so this is just a thought, and maybe we might want to come up with some kind of trendy title for this. Something neat. That's future, and we'll discuss it in the private group.
Okay.
Before we go, we'll just go around, say your full name,
Cool.
where you're from, just city and state, and a message.
Cool.
Okay?
And you have a message in general?
Anything you want, maybe a sentence.
Okay. Jennifer Camacho from Old Bridge, New Jersey. And hope everyone enjoys this. And just that it really gets people to look beyond Power Rangers or anything really as just a show and life in general. Just to say, you know what, you can learn a lot from anything really, from experiences. You can just embrace life. Yeah. All right, that's all I got right now.
Okay. I am Christopher Queer, and I'm from San Antonio, Texas. So I'm actually close to Jason, and well, like distance-wise. But anyways, I would actually say thank you for listening to this little fan panel here. Yeah, the fan panel, and hopefully we'll get some.
The power panel.
Power panel.
Yeah.
Name for it.
Yeah, see, look, we got our title already.
Power panel. All right. This was a good idea from the interviewer.
It sure beats sitting here moping that Jason had family business.
Exactly, yeah. So this is something to keep you busy, have some open mind of what we think, and we hopefully that you can give out your opinions in the future pretty soon.
Okay, what you got?
I'm Kai Wright. I'm from Lawrenceville, Georgia. I want to say again, thanks for listening, and I hope that this sort of helps people realize, you know, that there is a life for these actors and characters beyond just what we see in the show, and to sort of appreciate that the actors especially for what they do, and not just look at them on the surface level, because they're people too.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I'm Ryan Kinney. I'm from Ashtabula, Ohio. And I just wanted to kind of say that I've waited 20 years to meet this man. He's inspired me to martial arts, although my life didn't allow me to start training until several years ago. He kind of showed me of the power of good. He made me believe in good, and that there can be good in people no matter how dark, how evil, how bad you started. And I know that when my son is old enough, he will know the meaning of it's morphin' time.
Yeah!
Yay!